Hi, and welcome to Travel Talks with Selling Travel. I'm joined today by Nicola Balram, Senior Officer of Marketing at the Guyana Tourism Authority, who is going to tell us more about this lesser known region of Latin America. So, hi, Nicola, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Jessica. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. So, let's start by addressing what restrictions are currently in place for international travel to Guyana.
So currently, we actually just reopened back our borders to some limited commercial flights. However, we are requiring that persons do a PCR test and be tested negative before they do come into Guyana. So if you take that PCR test, you do have to take one no later than 7 days before your travel. If you do take that test and do have a negative test between 1 to 2 days of 3 days of your travel, you'll be able to, once you go through the airport process, you'll be able to leave the airport and go to your destination within Guyana. However, if you took your test 4 to 7 days within that travel, you will be required to get a second test on the ground here when you are traveling into Guyana.
Okay, so if you provide a negative test within 72 hours, you're free to leave your hotel and travel and explore Guyana. Is that right?
You're allowed to leave the airport to your hotel.
Right.
Domestic travel is still not fully open here in Guyana. On our end at the GTA, we are doing everything we can to work with some of the local properties to ensure that they do have their health and sanitation protocols up to date, that they do employ the social distancing rules. Masks are required in all public spaces here in Guyana as well. So that is the current position at this moment. And we're hoping as time goes on that we do have a lot more hotels that are on board, as well as domestic travel will be allowed to open back with, obviously with some restrictions because everywhere does have COVID and it's still a growing concern.
Okay. Yeah, that was going to be my next question. What are the kind of safety protocols in place across Guyana? Are people wearing masks indoors? Are restaurants open? Social distancing in place? Are hotels operating at reduced capacity? Can you tell us more?
Well, actually, masks are required right now in all public spaces. And even in our office right here, we do social distance out in the office. However, we do keep on our mask unless we are in a space alone. However, you still do have the social distancing and COVID-19 rules that applies at least 6 feet apart. So you do have to wear your mask. Servers are required to wear masks as well. Indoor dining is not fully open in Guyana.
And since the commercial flights have been operating, have you seen a increase in tourism from international visitors?
Well, we definitely saw a lot more people coming in. I know travel is something that although you can't have it, well, couldn't have it right now, it's still at the top of everyone's minds. Currently, because we've only just been open for about a week, I think it's a lot of Guyanese families coming back home and some international workers that would like to come here. But we definitely see with the opening of restaurants and some local areas that are allowed to be open, we've definitely seen a lot more movement. Obviously, we still advocate for the safe movement of people around Guyana, but we have definitely seen that that influx of persons traveling around the country to certain areas, especially those dining restaurants and dining establishments that are allowed to have outdoor dining at this time.
Okay, and tell us what sets Guyana apart from other Latin American destinations?
Well, the very obvious one that first comes to mind is that we're English speaking. So that is definitely a plus for us. Um, you can have a lot of experiences here, especially with our indigenous peoples without any translator because we are an English speaking destination. Another, because we are very similar to a lot of Latin American countries in terms of the landscape, but our culture does have a bit of that Caribbean flair. So we like to think that you get the best of both worlds. And our culture is what we call uniquely Guyanese because of that combination. So Guyana is the only country in South America where English is the native language, and it's found sandwiched between Venezuela, Brazil, Suriname, and the Atlantic Ocean. The closest Caribbean island to it is Trinidad, so it's just obliquely below Trinidad right now. From the UK, one of our closest connections is flying to Barbados. From Barbados to Guyana, it's only about an hour flight. and you can be and enjoy the rainforests and savannas here after that trip.
Perfect for a twin destination holiday then.
Correct. We have some local operators in DMCs that I know. They have clients from the UK that would like to come to Guyana for that rugged adventure or that rainforest experience, and on their way back to the UK usually just stay like a day in Barbados to have that sand, sun and sea experience as well.
And what is the tourist board doing to promote travel to the country? I know you mentioned to me at an earlier date that they were offering COVID support for Indigenous people. Could you tell us more about that?
Yes. So in terms of tourism support to our local sector, we know our Indigenous communities are the ones that, out of all our tourism businesses, they're the ones that may have been most definitely affected, because a lot of their earnings come from tourism dollars. And with the closure of the airports as well, it did have a drastic impact on them. So with that reduction in cash flow, we knew that we did have to do something to support these communities. And as a result, we have supported them by giving what we call COVID support packages. It is a list of recommended sanitation protocols and sanitation products, and delivered by our team with additional training, so that these eco lodges and resorts can get their properties and standards up to date and ensure that they are following a hygiene and sanitation protocol. Outside of that, we've also developed a GTA hygiene and sanitation protocol that has been used by a lot of the local sector members to kind of guide what they will be doing for their businesses to safely welcome travelers back. In terms of general promotions for the destination, I think we've continued with a strong digital presence on our social media pages, our websites, working with international media and working with other partners like yourself and our partners in our source markets as well, just to continue and make sure Guyana's name is out there. Yeah, we have a lot of space here. We have a lot of pristine and untouched rainforests and open savannas. And I know a lot of our work right now is to get those touch points. When you get into Guyana, obviously you're touching the capital city before you can get into the rainforests and savannas. So how do we make every point of that tourism journey as safe as possible for the traveler?
Of course. And how badly has Guyana been affected with the lack of tourism this year?
I think it does point a little bit to the earlier reference I made to our communities, because of the airport closure that we had on March 18th, and our airport's just reopening back. I think our tourism sector has been one of the hardest hit and one of the most immediate hits. But one thing I've learned for travel and tourism industry in Guyana and at large is that we are a very resilient sector. So I know our industry is planning to bounce back and bounce back stronger than ever. So I know this will be a very hard year for a lot of our businesses and a lot of our communities, but there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And I know a lot of our communities and businesses are just ready to welcome travelers when it's safe to do so again.
Yeah, I know that you've been working with tour operators to set up a few exciting new itineraries. One particular is focused around the new Gordon Ramsay route that he did for his Uncharted series with National Geographic. So what can the visitors expect when they return to Guyana?
Well, that's actually our only DMC, Wilderness Explorers, that just recently launched that product. And it was quite an exciting experience for anyone that's ever seen it or seen the clips on television, the way that he traveled into Guyana to learn about our local foods and our local produce, and then going to one of our Indigenous communities to actually learn how they catch and prepare their meals. So one of our local tour operators in DMCs here, they're actually going to be recreating that tour. So it starts off when you get to Guyana, you'll be able to tour around our local markets with a local chef, Delvin Adams, learning about the different kinds of fruits and produce that we have here in Guyana, before venturing into the rainforest at one of our community-led and owned eco-lodges. Rewa was the one that was highlighted during that trip. And through this, you'll be able to learn how our Indigenous peoples catch their own meals, how they prepare it on the river banks and in their communities, and using some of the traditional Guyanese spices to kind of flavor the meal as well. And obviously during those trips too, you do get the experience of bird watching, wildlife spotting, and learning a lot more about our Indigenous cultures here in country.
Great. I imagine a lot of people don't know that much about Guyana. So why shouldn't agents be nervous about sending their clients there, and why should they actually encourage travel to Guyana?
I think it's usually nervousness and fear just comes from not knowing, which is you kind of highlighted a lot of persons might not know. But Guyana is one of the safest destinations, especially in relation to the time that we are going into now in relation to COVID and social distancing still being a concern after 2020 and into 2020. And a lot of is what we call authentic nature and adventurism. And it does really show you that a lot of our product does tie back directly to the community. So the trip that you take here and the visit that you take here has that positive impact onto these communities. And I think global travel trends, that's something that many destinations are now working towards establishing. And we're very lucky in Ghana to already have that embedded into our tourism product, or embedded to the way our tourism product is grown and developed. So by nature of design, you will get that experience here.
And finally, how are you engaging with the trade? Is there any kind of marketing initiatives, campaigns, or fam trips planned that they can look forward to?
Well, a lot of our engagement with our trade are through our market representation firms. And one of the biggest things we've been able to do within this year is launch the online travel training platform, which is OTT, where a lot of the trade members of the trade can go and learn a bit more about the destination Guyana to be able to better sell and better explain to their clients what the destination is about. Like I said, most of the things is that you might not know about Guyana, especially since it is an emerging destination. So how do you get to learn a bit more? We're also using this platform to potentially look for persons for farm trips in 2021, as well as giving away some incentives on that, such as the local Eldorado rum and a brat guide that tells you a bit more of the destination. So I think during this period of time when many might not be able to travel and they're still looking to find new products that will fit their clientele, I think that will be that's an amazing platform out on.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for talking to me, Nicola.